Hello and welcome to LeetCode Camp Day 5. So today we're going to be solving a pretty challenging problem. So it's called a product of array except self. Let's read what the question says. Given an array nums of n integers where n is greater than 1, return an array output such that output I is equal to the product of all the elements of nums except nums I. So uh, we have an input array 1, 2, 3, 4. Oops, sorry. Let me just copy paste that here. So how do we get the output? So we're calculating the array except the self number. So the first number is 1. So we're not going to worry about that number, but we're going to calculate the product of the remaining other numbers. So 2 times 3 times 4 is 12 times 2, 24, right? So 24. So now we're not going to worry about 2. So 1 times 3 times 4 is 12. Then the third number is 3. So 1 times 2 times 4 is 8. The last number, we are going to ignore that. So 3 times 2 times 1 is 6. So that is our output. So this is what the problem wants. The most naive solution to solve this problem is start from the first, do a 2 times like for loop. So for loop of the nums array 2 times, and then for each number just compare it with the other numbers, calculate the profit, and then store it in a max value, and just keep doing that, go the naive approach basically. And this is not really an efficient solution, so I'm not going to be showing that because it's going to take too long. Let's look at another solution. Is basically, say we have an array 2, 3, 4, 5. Then first thing we can do is calculate the product of the whole array. So that's 5 times 4 is 20, times 3 is 60, times 2 is 120 is the product. So now the result array is going to be product divided by each element. So 120 by 2, and then 120 by 3, and then 120 by 4, and then 120 by 5 is that's our output. So 120 by 2 is 60, and then 3 is 40, and then 30, and then that's 25, no, 24 I believe. So yeah, so that would be our output, right? So look at that. So if we ignore the 2, then 5 times 4 is 20, times 3 is 60. First one is good. If we ignore the 3, then 20 times 2 is 40, and then ignore the 4, then 2 times 3 is 6, times 5 is 30, and then ignore the 5, then 12 times 2 is 24, right? So this is another way to solve it, but this does not work in all the cases. For instance, if we have an example array 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 0, 3, then what is the total product? It's 0, right? Because we have a 0 in there, and then every other element is going to be 0 divided by the element and such, so everything is going to be 0. So we have to keep into account a lot of edge cases, and this could turn into a hassle. So I'm going to show you a third solution which is very efficient, and which is probably the best way to move forward. But I mean, there's definitely other solutions too, but yeah. So for the sake of simplicity, I'm going to make 3 arrays. So let's call it left array, new int, same size as the nums. I'll tell you why soon. And then let me copy paste that real quick. And then let's call it a right array, and then let's call it a result array. So the thing I'm trying to do is, so we have 2, 3, 4, 5. The way I'm trying to solve it is, first we're gonna have a left array, and then we're gonna have a right array, and then we're gonna do a result array which is going to be a product of left times right. So the left array is basically left array is a product of all the numbers before the element on the left. So for 2, 3, 4, 5, so what's before 2? There's nothing, right? So let's start with 1 as the product, like just because there's nothing in front. Now let's add 3. What's the product of the numbers before 3? It's 2, right? So it's gonna be 2. And then let's start at 4. What's the product? 6, right? 6. And then let's go to the fourth element. What's the product before this number? 24. So these are the left products, like left product array. And then look at the right product array. So start from the last element and just put 1 as the last element. Now the second last element is going to be what? Like it's going to be 5, right? Like the product on the right. So for the second last element is going to be 5. Now the third last element is going to be on the 20, because 5 times 4 is 20 for the third last element, and then the first element is going to be 20 times 3 is 60, right? So that's going to be 60. Cool. And then now our resultant array is going to be product of left and right. So 1 times 60 is 60, and then 2 times 20 is 40, and then 5 times 6 is 30, and finally 24 times 1 is 24. So let's see if we have the right output with this algorithm. So look at the first element, so we ignored the first, so 5 times 4 is 20 times 3 is 60, good. And then second element, we ignored that, so 2 times 4 is 8 times 5 is 40. Then ignore the third element, 2 times 3 is 6 times 5 is 30. And then ignore the last elements, 4 times 3 is 12 times 2 is 24. Cool. So this is going to work. So how do we calculate the left subarray? Let's do that first. So the first element is 1, right? Like for the left subarray, we have to just set the first element as 1. So let's set left 0 as 1, and then loop through the other elements of the left. So for int I equals 0, I is less than, oh sorry, let's start from 1 because we already said 0. I is less than nums dot length, and then I plus plus, cool. And then for other elements, how do we calculate the left array? So we get the left array by saying left I is going to be left I minus 1 times nums I minus 1. I'll show you how this works. So let's say if we have 2, 3, 4, 5, then our left array is going to be, the very first element is 1, right? Like left 0 is 1, so the very first element of the left array is 1. So now for the second one, the left is 2. How do we get 2? We're going to multiply left minus 1, which is basically 1, right? Left minus 1 right now is 1, and then we're going to multiply left I minus 1 with nums I minus 1. So nums I minus 1 is 2, right? So 1 times 2 is 2. This is how we get the 2 out here. So now we multiply left I minus 1 with the nums I minus 1, so 2 times 3 is 6. So this is how we get the left. Same thing again, so 6 times 4 is 24. So that's it. This is how we get the left array. And then so now we have populated the left array. Let's do the same thing for the right. So right nums dot length minus 1. Let's set that to 1. So the very last element is going to be 1, and then loop through the other remainings. So for int I equals to nums dot length minus 2, start from the second last element and then go all the way till 0. So I is greater than equals to 0, and then I minus minus instead of plus plus, since we're going backward now. And then so for each of the numbers, right I is going to be right I plus 1 times nums I plus 1. So this is how we calculate the right array. So for this 2, 3, 4, 5, we're gonna be starting as 1 as the last element. Now 1 times 5 is going to be 5, and then 5 times 4 is going to be 20, and then 20 times 4 is going to be 80, right? 5 times 4 is 20, and then 20 times 3 is 60. Sorry, I got a little bit mixed up at one point, but yeah, this is how we populate the right array. So cool. So now we have a left array and we have a right array, so we just need to store it into a result array. So let's do one last loop. Int I equals 0, I is less than nums dot length I plus plus, result I happens to be left I, so it's a product of left times right, right I. Cool. So now this is basically, so we have our left array right here and we have our right array right here. So let's calculate the product. It's going to be 60 comma 40 comma 30 and 24. So look at our original array 2, 3, 4, 5 and look at the output. So for the first one, there's the 2, ignore the 2, so 20 times 3 is 60, very good. Second one, ignore the 3, 2 times 4, 8, 5, 40. Third one is 6 times 5, 30. And then fourth one is 12 to 24. So we are on the right track. So we have our result out here, right? Actually, I'm just gonna hold on to the comment here. So we have our result right here. Now we simply return the result here. So we are going to return a result. And then yeah, cool, that should work. Let's try and run the code real quick just to make sure we don't have any errors. Okay, cool, that's accepted. And then submit the code. Cool, there you go. So this is the efficient way to do it. You could do like some micro optimization. So what I would like you to do is just try to, don't try to use this result array at all. Like, just try to make sure not use this result array, and rather, so out here, remember how we get the right value. So we can just do something like we can multiply that with the left also, like out here itself, but we have to make some changes out here. So go and try that. So we don't need this anymore. Just try to make changes here and do a micro optimization. That way you can only use 2 for loops instead of 1, instead of 3. It's actually probably even possible to do it with just one for loop, but I mean 2 for loop is not that bad. Micro optimization is it can be important, but sometimes in the interviews you don't have enough time to be optimizing it all the way. So a solution that has like even this 3 for loops is not bad, but 2 is better. So just go ahead and try that out. It's not too hard. So yeah, that's it. And if you have any questions, leave it down in the comments below and I'll try my best to answer. Hope you have a great day. Bye bye.